Hello children, welcome back to Nagesh Karasgi Orchid School channel. Now in the last episode, we have learnt or we have studied lesson number 8 as well as we saw the animation video of lesson 9, that is of political science, that is struggles for equality. So this is the last lesson of this subject, social and political life. So let us see now. India is a democratic country. We learned many things in the previous lessons, like inequality between the people. Some were not getting the house because of their religion, and some, like a student was forced to sweep the classroom. Why? Because he is a Dalit. And in the same way we learned many other things also. Let us see what struggles are there for equality. We will start our lesson, that is lesson number lesson number 9, page number 102 and 103. Open your textbooks, we will read the lesson. So let us start the lesson, struggles for equality. In this book you have read about people like Kanta, the Ansaris, Melani and Swapna. The thread that connects all these lives is that they have been treated unequally. Now we learnt about these people, Kanta, she was working as a maid, and when her daughter was not well, she has to struggle, like she has to wait in a long queue in government hospitals. And Ansaris and Melani and Swapna was not having enough money to grow cotton, so she has to borrow money, and whereas they were not getting the house on rent. Why? Because of their religion. So many things we have learnt in previous lessons. The thread that connects all these lives is nothing but unequal treatment. What do people do when they face such inequalities? History is full of examples of persons who have come together to fight against inequality and for issues of justice. Do you recall the story of Rosa Parks in lesson 1? Do you remember the photo essay on the women's movement in chapter 5? In this chapter you will learn about some of the ways in which people have struggled against inequality. So all these lessons we have learnt about these people, Rosa Parks, and in one more lesson, that is lesson number 5, about women's movement. And in this lesson now we will learn about some of the ways in which people struggled for against inequality. As you have already read in this book, the Indian Constitution recognizes all Indians as equal before the law and states that no person can be discriminated against because of their religion, sex, caste, or whether they are rich or poor. All adults in India have the equal right to vote during elections, and this power over the ballot box has been used by people to elect or replace their representatives. Now we have already read in this book, the Indian Constitution recognizes all Indians equal before law. There is no discrimination, whether they are rich, poor, or from which caste they are, equal rights they are getting, and all adults like above 18 years, they have the right to vote. And this statement, like power over the ballot box, what is this mean? This is mean that each and every individual have the right to vote. So, but this feeling of equality that the ballot box provides, because the vote of a person is as good as that of another, does not extend to most people's lives. As you have read, the increasing privatization of health services and neglect of government hospitals have made it difficult for most poor people like Kanta, Hakim Sheikh and Aman to get good quality health care. These people do not have the resources to afford expensive private health services. Now here Hakim Sheikh also, he met with an accident, but he could not get the medical facility At last in one of the hospital, private hospital, he got his medical treatment, his treatment, but he has to spend lot of money. Many hospitals are rejected. I told about Kanta also. So in this way they faced many problems. Similarly, the man who sells juice does not have the resources to compete with all of the major companies who sell branded drinks through expensive advertising. So some people, very ordinary people, common people who sells juice, that they don't have much resources, they don't have much money, or don't have the shop or all the money to spend for advertising. But the people who have lot of money, they put their brands and they do the advertisements, and their products are sold for a high price in a large quantity. Swapna does not have sufficient resources to grow cotton, and so has to take a loan from the trader to grow her crop. This forces her to sell her cotton at a lower price. Now here Swapna, we saw in the last lesson the example that she was not having sufficient money to grow her the cotton in her own land. She has to borrow money for pesticides and other expenses, and at last she has to sell her cotton to that trader from whom she has borrowed the money at a low price, even though her cotton was of very good quality. Melanie, like the millions of democratic workers across the country, is forced to endure the insults and hardship of working as a domestic help because she has no resources to set up something on her own. Poverty and the lack of resources continue to be a key reason why so many people's lives in India are highly unequal. So poverty is the main reason, and lack of resources, this continue to be a key reason why so many peoples in India are highly unequal. On the other hand, the Ansaris were discriminated against not because they did not have the resources. In fact, despite having the money to pay the required rent, they were not able to find an apartment for over a month. People were reluctant to lease them an apartment because of their religion. Similarly, the main reason that the teachers forced Om Prakash Valmiki to sweep the schoolyard was because he was Dalit. So here again we are recalling the examples whatever we have learnt in previous lessons. Like this Ansaris, they were not getting the room for rent. They were having money, sufficient money to pay the rent. For a month they did not get the house. Why? Because of their religion. And Om Prakash Valmiki, he was forced to sweep the schoolyard or ordered to sweep. Why? Because he was a Dalit. Okay. Now here reluctant means not wanting to do something. People were reluctant to lease because they don't want to give. Okay. Now you have also read that the work women do is often considered of less value than that of men. Why this? See, this lesson, in previous lessons we learned this also, this point also, that right from early morning to till night women works at home, lot of hard work she will do, but still it is not considered as a work. Okay. And it is differentiated between men and women. All of these persons are discriminated against primarily because of their social and cultural background, as well as because of they are women, and somewhere because of their social and cultural backgrounds they were discriminated, and as well as because of they were women. So women as compared to men, if she does hard work also, it is not considered. Discrimination on the basis of person's religion, caste and sex is another significant factor for why people are treated unequally in India. So, discrimination on the basis of person's religion is there, their caste, whether they are men, women, male, female, and another significant factor for why people are treated unequally in India. Often poverty and lack of dignity and respect for certain communities and groups come together in such powerful ways that it is difficult to identify where one aspect of inequality ends and the other begins. Now, often poverty and lack of dignity and respect for certain communities. Some communities, they are poor and they are not given any dignity. If their dignity is not recognized and they don't get respect, and all such type of people form the groups, come together in such powerful ways that it is difficult to identify where one aspect of inequality ends and there begins. As you have read, Dalit, Adivasi and Muslim girls drop out of school in large numbers. This is a combined outcome of poverty, social discrimination and lack of good quality school facilities for these communities. Here Dalit, Adivasi people and Muslim girls, they drop their school, drop out their school. As soon as they go for secondary, they are not allowed to continue their school or education, further education. There are several reasons. There is poverty and they have social discrimination, means their household, whatever the rules are set, and lack of quality schools also. Even for these reasons, these are not allowed to take further education. Now, struggles for equality. Throughout the world, in every community, village, city and town, you will find that there are some people who are known and respected because of their fight for equality. Throughout the world, in every community, every village, city, town, we will find such type of people. There are people, some people who are known and respected because of their fight for equality. These people may have stood up against an act of discrimination that they faced or which they witnessed, or they may be well respected because they treat all persons with dignity and are therefore trusted and called upon to resolve issues in the community. Now, these people, they may stood up against an act of discrimination and even faced or such they witnessed. Okay. They are fighting for it, or they may be well respected because they treat all persons with dignity. If they are giving respect to the friend person, they are also getting respect. This is one of the reason, and therefore trusted and called upon to resolve their issues. These people, they can resolve their issues in the community. Often some of these persons become more widely recognized because they have the support or represent large numbers of people who have united to address a particular issue of inequality. In India, there are several struggles in which people have come together to fight for issues that they believe are important. In chapter 5, you read about the methods used by the women's movement to raise issues of equality. The Tawa Matsya Sangh in Madhya Pradesh is another example of people coming together to fight for an issue. There are many such struggles, such as those among beedi workers, fisher folks, agricultural laborers, slum dwellers, and each group is struggling for justice in its own way. There are also many attempts to form cooperatives or other collective ways by which people can have more control over resources. Now, how the people are coming together, they are forming their groups and struggling. There are examples. In chapter 5, we saw about the women's movement, And in this chapter we are going to see one more example, the Tawa Matsya Sangh in Madhya Pradesh, and some more struggles for BD workers. They have protested, they went for rallies for their rights, fisher folks and agricultural laborers also, and slum dwellers, because they want the house for settling. So they come together and they struggle how much is possible for them, and they take their rights. Tawa Matsya Sangh. When dams are built for forest areas declared sanctuaries for animals, thousands of people are displaced. Okay, when dams are built or forest areas are declared, means the forest areas are declared as sanctuaries for animals. From there thousands of people are displaced. Whole villages are uprooted and people are forced to go and build new homes, start new lives elsewhere. Now here many people, many villages, they are removed from there and the people were forced to go to some other places and settle down. They were relocating. Most of these people are poor. Now these people are poor people. In urban areas too, bastis in which poor people live are often uprooted. Some of them are relocated to areas outside the city. Their work as well as their children's schooling is severely disrupted because of their distance from the outskirts of the city to these locations. Now in urban areas also people are removed from bastis and they are told to settle in outskirts out of the cities, whereas they get disturbed in their work and their children could not take the education properly because the distance is too far for the schools, and this they get many problems by this relocation. The displacement of people and communities is a problem that has become quite widespread in our country. People usually come together to fight against this. There are several organizations across the country fighting for the rights of displaced. In this chapter we will read about the Tawa Matsya Sangh, a federation of fisher workers, cooperatives and organization fighting for the rights of the displaced forest dwellers of Satpura forest in Madhya Pradesh. Now people usually they come together to fight against this type of discrimination. So there are several organizations as well as cooperatives. They form together, by that they gain some resources and they settle their lives. In this chapter what we are going to read? We are going to read about Tawa Matsya Sangh. This is a federation of fisher workers cooperatives. Okay, they were fighting for their rights. Where it is? The place is Satpura in Madhya Pradesh. Originating in Mahadev hills of Chhindwara district, the Tawa flows through Betul before joining the Narmada in Hosangabad. The Tawa dam began to build in 1958 and was completed in 1978. It submerged large areas of forest and agricultural land. The forest dwellers were left with nothing. Some of the displaced people settled around the reservoir and apart from their merged farms found a livelihood in fishing. They earned very little. See here, now this Mahadev hills of Chinchwara district, the Tawa flows Betul before joining the Narmada in Hoshangabad. The Tawa dam, the dam was built and it covered the area, large area with submerged areas of forest also as well as agricultural land also. Now here the people who were living in forest, they left with nothing, and many people they left that place, and some people they settled around the reservoir only, and this and their forms found a livelihood in fishing. How they were surviving? By fishing, and they were earning very little money. A dam is built across a river at sites where one can collect a lot of water. This forms a reservoir. As the water collects, it submerges vast areas of land. This is because the wall of the dam across the river is high and the water spreads over a large area. This is a photo of submergence caused by Tehri Dam in Uttarakhand. The old Tehri town and 100 villages, some totally and some partially, were submerged by this dam. Nearly 1 lakh people were displaced. Now the people who were staying here because of this dam, construction of dam, many people have to live near about 100 villages, and some totally and some partially were submerged in this dam. In 1994, the government gave the rights for fishing in Tawa reservoir to private contractors. Now what the government did? They gave the contract to private people. These contractors, for what purpose? For fishing purpose. These contractors drove the local people away and got cheap labor from outside. Now the people, those who were staying nearby the reservoir, they were not allowing these people to work, but they were bringing the laborers at a cheap amount, or by paying very low amount. The contractors began to threaten the villagers who did not want to leave by bringing in hoodlums. Okay. The villagers stood united and decided that it was time to set up an organization and do something to protect their rights. Now here these contractors, they were threatening, they were harassing the villagers. The villagers, those who don't want to leave, they were forcing to leave, and they were bringing hoodlums, means they were putting some pressure, they were creating crime, committing crime and forcing them to leave. Now the villagers felt, now we should get united, we should come together and form a organization to protect their rights. The newly formed Tawa Matsya Sangh organized rallies and Chakka Jam, that is road blockade, demanding their right to continue fishing. Now what this Tawa Matsya Sangh, it is said as TMS, they organized rallies and they blocked the roads to fight for rights, and they want the right to continue fishing for their livelihood. In response to their protest, the government created a committee to assess the issue. Now here, for this protest, the government, what they did, they have created a committee to assess the issue, to look after the issue, what happened exactly and means what is going on. The committee recommended that fishing rights be granted to villagers for their livelihood. In 1996, the Madhya Pradesh government decided to give to the people displaced by Tawa Dam and fishing rights for the reservoir. A 5-year lease agreement was signed 2 months later. On January 2, 1997, people from 33 villages of Tawa started the new year with the first catch. Now here in 1996, the Madhya Pradesh government, they decided to give the people who displaced by Tawa Dam and the fishing rights for the reservoir. So it was a 5-year lease agreement that was signed 2 months later, and on January 2nd, 1997, people from 33 villages of Tawa started the new year with the first catch. Now they started to catch the fish, they got the rights. The TMS taking over fish workers were able to increase their earnings substantially. Okay, here now with the TMS means Tawa Matsya Sangh taking over, fish workers were able to, now they were able to increase their earnings substantially means greatly, very much. This was because they set up the cooperative which would buy the catch from them at a fair price. The cooperative would then arrange to transport and sell this in markets where they would get a good price. They have now begun to earn 3 times more than they earned earlier. The TMS has also begun giving the fisher workers loans for repair and the buying of new nets. By managing to earn a higher wage as well as preserving the fish in the reservoir, the TMS has shown that when people's organizations get their rights to livelihood, they can be good managers. Now, in this way, the people of this, they were Tawa Matsya Sangh, they were earning good money, and the cooperative which would buy the catch from them at a fair price. Now, they have, why they were getting good money? Because they were selling and buying, or they were giving for a their whatever the product is there for a good price, and the cooperatives even arranged to transport and sell these markets where they would get a good price. Now they began to earn 3 times more than whatever they were earning in the earlier. First they were earning that it has triple time they are getting good amount, and here the TMS has also begun giving the fisher workers loans. For what purpose? For repair and buying of new nets. If the nets are damaged, they were giving money to repair their nets and also even buying new nets. Now managing to earn a higher wage as well as preserving the fish in the reservoir. The TMS has shown that when people's organizations get their rights to livelihood, they can be good managers also. Okay, we will continue the lesson in the next episode. Till then, take care. Bye.